My presentation is titled Re-Animating and Re-Sacralizing Plants and Trees, Qi and Oxygen in China and Nepal. I'm sorry, but this was a long talk and I got to cut it to fit in our limited time. So I'm sorry that I won't be able to include sacralization of trees in Nepal today. I'm just focusing on Taoist Qi. So why are plants and trees good to think with in multi-species and sacred geography studies? Of course, our discipline is anthropology for those of you who are SAR. Anthropology, this term, comes to us for grounding anthropos, humanity, humans, and it's also found in anthropocentrism. So I submit our discipline is thoroughly anthropocentric. It comes out of the European Renaissance humanism, which emerged out of Christian culture, which, like Chinese Confucian culture and some other axial age religions, elevated humanity over other species. But other axial age traditions were more accommodating towards the non-human world, such as Hinduism, Buddhism, and Taoism. More encompassing of older indigenous traditions, which tend to be, like we heard from Professor Lin and Professor Johnson, these older indigenous traditions are more religiously oriented to local land formations, and they extend kinship to animals and plants. So we anthropologists need to study religious multi-species interactions. And in these multi-species studies, animals have been privileged over plants. So I'm going to make a pitch for plants. Plants are highly attuned to local geography and climate. So plants are embedded in religious traditions and rituals, and some are sacralized, which have helped to preserve them from extinction. Indeed, in China today, after the ravages of modernity in the 20th century, it is very interesting to think and to acknowledge that so many older trees in China, where are they located? Where have they been preserved? Where so many trees were cut down throughout the 20th century. You find older trees in sacred sites, such as on temple grounds, at sacred cemeteries, and lineage ancestor hall locations. So the sacrality of the space managed to preserve a lot of these old trees. In the age of global capitalism and state developmentalism, species have been subject to commodification and extinction. So this is limited time, so I'm going to talk about the where did we get our dominant ontology in our modern world? This dominant ontology creates an inert, de-animated, non-agential universe, okay? Except for humanity, which is practically privileged with agency in human culture. So according to Carolyn Merchant, who's a UC or Berkeley philosopher of science, she talked about where we got to be here in the modern world, and it comes out of the Newtonian physics, which created an inert cosmos. Let's see, how do I go backward? So, Newton's universe was mechanistic rather than organic. It constituted by inert atomic particles that only moved when acted upon by external forces. Natural forces were understood in terms of universal, unchanging, predictable laws that were not context-specific. The hierarchy of modern sciences placed physics, astronomy, and chemistry at the top ranks of human knowledge above the life sciences. The life sciences did not diverge significantly from Newtonian physics. which treated matter as inert. It was only until recently that the modern botany's dominant approach treated plants as bundles of chemical reactive processes, and biology and zoology treated animals not as sentient beings, but as a collection of genetically inherited instincts. Although, of course, Newtonian physics is no longer the reigning paradigm in physics, it still provides the dominant ontology for modern social life. And even in recent decades, Gaia theory, which is a movement in the natural sciences that Bruno Latour has written about, it started to challenge the notion of our planet as an inert world of chemical reactions. But it has not gotten as far as we would have expected because of tremendous resistance in natural sciences. So Newtonian inert cosmos is still with us to a great extent. Once plants become inert and non-agential, the way is opened up for colonialism, capitalist commodification, and monocropping. So what we have from the 19th to the present is this monocropping and commodification of plants, this one is from Faiza Zakaria's work on the displacement of sacred camphor in northern Sumatra by Dutch colonial plantations of monocropping. And we also have a more recent book by Sophie Chow on Papua New Guinea, the palm oil plantations of the 21st century, and how they have displaced the sacred indigenous sago palm. I was in Malaysia, Borneo, and the palm oil plantations spread far to the horizon, just obliterating the habitat of what do you call those primates who live in? Orangutans, yes. We did see some orangutans, but there's virtually none left. And of course, in California, we have the cutting down of gigantic trees all over California, so there's barely a few patches left now. Let me just quote a passage from Emmanuel Coetzee, The Life of Plants. And is it possible to reanimate the world through plants? He says, plants challenge one of the pillars of the biological and natural sciences, the priority of the environment over the living, of the world over life, of space over the subjects. Plants demonstrate that living beings produce the space in which they live rather than being forced to adapt to it. So this is an issue of the container and the contained. So the container is the environment, and the contained are subjects and living things in the environment. And according to Darwinian theory, the contained merely adapt to the environment. They have, plants have modified the metaphysical structure of the world for good. They demonstrate that life is a rupture in the asymmetry between container and contained. The paradigm of the mutual overlap is what the ancients called breath. To blow, to breathe, means what contains us, the air, becomes contained in us. And conversely, what was contained in us becomes what contains us. To breathe means to be immersed in a medium that penetrates us with the same intensity as we penetrate it. So if we think about breathing, that container contained is ruptured and dissolved because our bodies are in this air, but when we breathe, we bring the exteriority into the interior. When we breathe out, the interior goes out. So we are mutually and forcing mutually creating the container and the contained. Although plants do not possess mouths, they also breathe. Plants breathe through tiny pores called stomata on the underside of their leaves. Unlike animals like us, who belch the greenhouse gas methane, Plants during the day absorb sunlight, water, and they breathe in the greenhouse gas, carbon dioxide. Through photosynthesis, they convert the CO2 into oxygen, which helps us to produce the air that sustains life. In this planet, we're the only place we know of where life is found. So in the quotation I read, Kossia is saying that plants challenge the scientific normative knowledge that the environment is the mere container of living things. So in this ontology assumes that both the environment and its contained subjects are passive and lacking in agency. At most, the agency is reactive and adapting. For Kossia, retrieving ancient Greek vitalist knowledge, the very act of plants breathing proves that they are not merely contained, but they also reverse the relationship in containing so that plants actively build, merge with, and change their habitat. So plants and all life breathes, right? Plants have an active role in co-creating and making the environment. So let's take a look at an ancient religious tradition that makes a lot out of breathing, out of notions of air and gas. So that is the notion of qi, or primary breath, in Taoism. So the notion of qi predates Taoism, but Taoism is the religious tradition that has made the most out of this notion of qi. So the ancient character of qi, written at the top left corner, we can see from Shang oracle bones of the second millennia BCE. It referred to the flow of wispy cloud formations, 云气. And later ages, you have a different character, qi, with the character rice in the middle, and that referred to the steam arising from cooking rice. So qi, you see, has multiple meanings. It can mean gases, it can mean breathing, you get smell and flavor. It can mean the weather, the climate, which is very important to our thinking right now. It can mean energy and strength, is sometimes translated as energy. And it figures very importantly in Taoist cosmology because primary breath was there at the origin of the cosmos. And it also figures in Taoist geology or geomancy, feng shui. Qi flows through the veins of the earth, and it gathers in flowing water. Qi also flows through the human body, and in traditional Chinese medicine, which is very effective. I'm a successful patient. I've received Chinese medicine healing, which have worked. So the healthy flow of qi through the meridians or the veins of the body is what Taoist ritual and traditional Chinese medicine tries to promote. And qi figures very importantly in Taoist rituals conducted by Taoist priests who meditate and who also breathe in certain ritual ways as part of the ritual. So I visited two Taoist temples, one in the mountains, which is associated with the rise of Taoist religion in outside Chengdu, called Hemingshan. And here to the left is an 800-year-old Chinese weeping cypress, and to the right is a 400-year-old ginkgo tree, a green goat Taoist temple in the city of Chengdu. So these trees have survived at these two sacred sites. They were not cut down like so many other trees. And here we see a Taoist priest. He's demonstrating a ritual that I only discovered recently that I didn't know about. And this is the ritual of absorbing or extracting qi from plants. especially trees.
观想我们身上的脏腑的黑气，从我们嘴里面吐到这个灌木，吐到花草里面去。
So he's saying that if you're sick, you can do this little ritual daily, and you go to flowers and plants, and you breathe it in, and you imagine the plant healing you, and you bring the air down into your body. Okay, and I said, do you do this ritual all the time? All of you priests? And he said, no, only if you are sick. And he swears by it. He said that he had one patient who was threatening suicide, and he had the patient do this ritual very fervently, and he said that patient then was healed and didn't talk about suicide anymore. Here's another ritual. So this is a lay Taoist practitioner. He doesn't like to identify with any monastery or institutional Taoist, institutional edifice. And he gives lessons, but he's hung around Taoist temples, and he's read a lot of ancient Taoist texts. And here he is having a class in front of a ginkgo tree. So you, I won't show the whole thing, but so they're standing in front of a several century old ginkgo tree. They want to select these older trees because older trees have proven themselves. They have a lot of qi. They have strong qi that they can spare to lend to these poor humans who need assistance. Okay. Okay, I should preface this by saying that I was interviewing this elderly Taoist priest at Hemingshan, and he told a third person that, what is this woman, asking me continuously about extracting qi from trees? Doesn't she know it's not very important? So there is a major Taoist ritual of extracting qi and a minor one. So extracting qi from plants and trees is minor. It's not the mainstream dominant Taoist tradition. But I suspect that with the lay priests, and I still need more research to prove this, I suspect that the lay practitioner, he represents a younger generation and a newer kind of a movement, and is more aware of connecting religious traditions to our current environmental crisis. Okay? So I suspect that things are moving and shifting, and the older generation Taoist priest is not linking up Taoist tradition so much with the needs of the present. So he's still in this kind of abstraction of what Taoism is. So this is how Master Li, the lay practitioner, explained to me how you do the ritual of extracting qi from the tree. Choose a large, strong tree that has much qi to give. Talk to the tree. Express your love and your respect for the tree. Touch it and touch it. Have physical contact. When practicing this ritual, you must do it at sunrise because that's when the yang energy ascends. And you must do it before sunset because at sunset, that's when the yin energy ascends, and yin can bring illness. Raise your two hands to the tree, ask the tree for help. Using your hands, bring down the qi to the, all the way from the head down to the dantian, this abdomen area, and press in. Lower your hands all the way down to your feet, and then move up to the two inner thighs. Press your 2 feet firmly into the ground. Feel the warmth of the qi on your skin, with the 2 middle fingers pressed down on the dantian in the front, and then at the middle of the spine on the back. Beware of this qi flowing through your body down the yin channel, which is called ren mai, in the front of the body, and up the yang channel, which is called du mai, in the back. And then women and men have different clockwise, counterclockwise movements, and repeat every day except rainy days. Okay? Rainy days, of course, is the yin. What you want is to bring in that yang energy. So this has been going on for a long time, where the container and the contained shift positions. So here is a model made of lacquer that was excavated in the Chengdu area, is now in the Chengdu Museum, of the veins of qi flow through the body. Okay, so this qi you can, import from plants, where the plant energy, the plant qi, can be stronger than you and can give you assistance. And here is a modern, contemporary model of the human body with the major front and rear arteries or veins of qi's flow. So Taoist cosmology, qi cosmology, suffuses the universe with a vitalist philosophy in which all things on the planet, living and non-living, qi runs through the land, humans and animal bodies, plants, water systems, the air, and the mountains. There is an ancient saying that has come back in usage. Now I hear it a lot in China. The 10,000 things are alive. 万物有灵. Through their conversion of CO2 into oxygen, plants breathe and are active producers of our air, cleansing it of greenhouse gases and producing life-sustaining oxygen. They partake of the flowing life of qi. The Taoist minor ritual of extracting qi from plants shows that humans and plants exchanging and sharing of qi are becoming one in this process. They're merging with, suffused with, and becoming their environment. They become part of the same substance. The plant world cannot be seen as objectified or externalized from humans, but they are actively co-creating the air that we all need to breathe. So we are back to Kosia, the epigraph that I read out at the beginning. So we have a minor philosophical movement that has been trying to counter the mechanistic universe of Newton for a while, with mixed success. According to Scott Lash, vitalism in the Western tradition sees the living world as one of becoming over one of being, of movement over stasis, of action over structure, of flow and flux. Vitalist notions are opposed to the idea of mechanism, which usually rely on dualisms of mind and body, where causation is construed as being determined externally. Vitalism emphasizes the experiences of the senses and the self-organization and self-propelling movement of life. And that is what life is. It's self-propelling and self-organizing. It is not humanistic, for vitalists are interested in animals and other organic and inorganic things. Important vitalists in the Western modern tradition are Spinoza, Nietzsche, Gabriel Tarde, Henri Bergson, and Gilles Deleuze. These thinkers struggled against first Cartesian dualism and then the Newtonian mechanistic universe. Vitalism is the principle that life forms cannot be reduced to mere physico-chemical forces. Due to its self-propelling agency and drive to proliferate, life is constantly growing, moving. Even plants move. I saw plants that moved in Costa Rica. They do have plants that move, but they're still rooted and reproducing so that change and agency are vividly displayed. So Karen Barad, who has a PhD in physics and is also engaged in critical theory and engages with Michel Foucault and Judith Butler. She says that posthumanism is not calibrated to the human. It takes issue with human exceptionalism. It does not attribute the source of all change to culture, denying nature any agency or historicity. Posthumanism refuses the division between nature and culture, calling for an accounting of how this boundary is actively configured and reconfigured. And she cites the Nobel Prize-winning physicist Niels Bohr. She says, for Bohr, things do not have any inherently determinate boundaries or properties. Bohr was looking at the atomistic particle level. And he calls into question the Cartesian belief in the inherent distinction between subject and object, knower and known. A radical challenge to Newtonian physics is what Bohr represents, where he's challenging presupposed fixed things and laws. So Karen Barad invents this term intra-action. It is different from interaction because interaction assumes the prior existence of independent entities that are already there, outside of and prior to the process of intra-action. So the ongoing and repeated interactions produce and reshape agential separability and shifting boundaries between exteriority and interiority, kind of like the action of breathing, whether human breathing or plant breathing. And in this process, these things are reworking the boundaries of living and non-living matter. And so she also talks about the limits of representational approaches to being, understand our being in the world. And she, like Roy Rappaport's work on rituality, argues for turn to the performative. Roy Rappaport, I just love his work on ritual because he critiqued Geertz's symbolic approach to ritual and says that, and using J.L. Austin, says that ritual is a performative. It's very active. And it accomplishes what symbolism and representation cannot. So the performative, if we approach the world this way, it fully appreciates how living things approach each other, internalizing and absorbing their exterior environments and other things or creatures. And in these processes, things make changes to themselves and shift the boundaries with their environments. So the world is actively co-created by the living things in the world. And this is the very thesis argued by Gaia theory, which says that it's all the living things of the world that create our climate.
Mayfair,
Yeah.
we have only 5
So
minutes left.
I'm finished. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
We can take an extra 5 minutes. I want to make sure, out of respect for our keynote speaker, that we have enough time for transitions. Whether this is your first day or last day, it's either one is a tough day to sit still for a long time. So,
Could you find?
so let's
the
take
2
until
slides
about
where we put the
just 10
keynote
minutes,
speaker?
I guess, to take some Q&A from the audience. My own presentation, I'm going to do it tomorrow. So if you are interested in seeing that, I'll swap it out, and in a session tomorrow I'll do that. So it's not lost. So yeah, so any questions, especially linking some of ours, or you don't have to. Go ahead. Yeah, Sarah. Oh, good, you have a mic.
Thanks, Amanda. Okay, thanks, Chris. Cool. Thank you so much for your papers. My question is for Greg, and wondering about how the institutional activism went here. Did you employ any spiritual activism or religious practices as you dealt with these systems? And where are you now in that process so that as we walk around here in these very days, we can also assist and advocate?
Yeah, thank you for your question. In a holding pattern right now. The project's not moving forward because there's no funding, so we'll hope that stays the case. There's been lots of campus-based activism. There are student groups, Mauna Kea Protectors and others who have really been carrying the mantle. They speak to the regents, the UC regents on a regular basis. I myself have testified to the regents and other entities about this on a semi-regular basis. So ongoing activism. For my part, not religious or spiritual. I'm atheist on a cranky day, agnostic on a good day, but certainly grounded and sympathetic with things happening that people are doing. Bring in lots of Kanaka Maoli speakers to campus to engage folks, to say, this is what's happening. So basically redirecting UC money to a different purpose with what we would hope is a different outcome. Yeah.
I've read your piece about rock climbing. You're spiritual.
Yeah, well, spiritual but not religious.
Okay.
Hi, thank you for a wonderful panel. This is really extraordinary. My question is for Mayfair. Mayfair, I wanted to know, first of all, what is it, this idea that the qi that's flowing, right, through the veins of the earth and the veins of people, have people drawn on that to think about the legal personhood of nature? What role does qi play into that?
Did you hear the question? What role is qi playing today?
No, because people used the idea of qi to argue for the legal personhood of nature. Since qi is flowing through the veins of the earth and all of that, and is flowing through people, wouldn't that be an argument to put forth for the legal personhood of nature? Have people used that? Do you know?
Yeah, I think it hasn't gotten there, but that's a great, projection of possibilities in the future. I haven't heard anything about legal personhood of non-humans in China, but anybody can correct me. I haven't heard any indications that way. Yeah, but I have heard about other places in India and even in the United States. There's a lake that has received legal personhood, and in India there's rivers that have received legal personhood where the river has a right to be protected from pollution. Yeah.
Thanks. I was thinking about the performance of the three papers, and to me, the first two papers illuminate the strength of indigenous knowledge, while Mayfair, it felt to me like the end of your paper in the move to Barad and Deleuze took us away from the indigenous. And I think of Scott Pratt's work on the power that Deleuze and others have had in overtaking and almost colonizing the indigenous knowledges about vitalism, that Deleuze gets more mentions than indigenous authors do. So I wondered why and if the move to Karen Barad is helpful.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't get time to talk about what I'm going against, because I'm a China specialist. I work on modern and contemporary China. So modern China was semi-colonized and by Western powers. As a result of that experience, it felt itself very weak. There was a dominant tradition of rejecting its own traditions, and it embraced the Western opposition of religion versus science. Okay? But if you look at versions of highly literate elite Buddhism, science, it's totally compatible with science. Okay? So there's and even aspects of Taoism. Literate Taoism is compatible with science, and Taoism is totally entwined with traditional Chinese medicine. And the whole notion of qi has a scientific basis based on trial and error over 2,000, 3,000 years, so that it really works. And I have felt qi in my body practicing Tai Chi Chuan. So what I'm going against is this importation in China, which can be overpowering sometimes, of religion against science. And science, the embrace of science, which is very oppressive to religion. So Karen Barad and these people that I cite are bringing religion back with science and bringing indigenous notions of the land, the air, the water back together with science. So that's actually part of what I'm trying to do. And Barad is a good theorist of this.
Okay, we're going to take one last question.
Touching on what you said about, we're talking about science, what do you think about fascia as working in the dissection team at Santa Barbara City College? Often medical students just throw fascia away. I was just wondering what you think of that and how it connects to qi.
Could you just quickly repeat that question? I'm so sorry.
No. Do they? I don't know. Really? Okay. Okay. Good to know.
Yeah. So your question was about qi.
Fascia and its relation to qi. Fascia is the interconnected web that connects all your organs, blood vessels. It's like a spider web-like material that connects pretty much everything in your body, including your skin and organs and muscles and tissues and bones. And a lot of people believe that it's connected to qi and the meridians. And
okay, perhaps I should, because I don't want to take up all the time.
Yeah.
You and I can
Sure.
afterwards.
Thanks.
Sorry. Yeah.